Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Upgrades. I'm Jeremy Knoll.
And I'm John Suarez.
And today we are here to talk about Maestros Massacre from the Streets of New Capenna Commander Preconstructed decks. And this one's pretty cool. This is a Grixis one with Onlo the Painter as the main commander. It is blue, black, red, 1/3 Death Touch. The first instant or sorcery spell you cast each turn has Casualty 2. Which is whenever you cast a spell, you may sacrifice a creature with power 2 or greater. When you do, copy the spell, and you may choose new targets for the copy. So, Grixis Spellslingers.
Very, very powerful. I don't know if they did it on purpose, but I'm going to assume that they did. I'm going to take the shout out to Painter and a 1/3. That's a little too coincidental, right?
That's very much up John's alley here. So, just kind of going over the deck real quick. Just looking at the stats, we have 14 creatures in the deck, not including the commander. 7 instants, 22 sorceries. 14 artifacts, 5 enchantments, 37 lands. So we've definitely got a Spellslinger vibe going on here. A lot of our creatures are either going to be 2-power creatures that can come back, or are going to give us like some bonuses for casting spells. And then we have a bunch of spells, 29 instants and sorceries in the deck. Right around where you want to be.
Jeremy, we played with this deck.
We did.
Commander Versus.
Yeah.
And I feel like Steven passed his turn like 4 times with mana up. There's only 7 instants in the deck.
Yeah.
7. What was he doing? He had them all.
He did. He had so much mana open to just pass the turn. But there's some good. I think there's some really good cards in this deck. There's a really cool new one for Spellslinger decks, and that's Cryptic Pursuit.
Yeah.
It's an enchantment for 2 blue-red. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell from your hand, manifest the top card of your library. And that's take the top card of your library, put it face down on the battlefield. It's a 2/2 creature. Turn it face up anytime for its mana cost if it's a creature spell. So it's kind of like Morph, but you can just flip it over for its mana cost. And it also says whenever a face-down creature you control dies, exile it. If it's an instant or sorcery card, you may cast that card until the end of your next turn. Yeah. So because it's got so many instants and sorceries in the deck, you just get that card later. It's a little layaway card. But yeah, this card was very obnoxious.
It is. I mean, obviously it works very well with Enelo, right? Because you're just going to get your 2/2, and now every spell you cast, you get to copy.
The secondary commander in the deck is Parnesi?
Yeah.
How do you pronounce that?
I like Parnesi.
Okay.
Parness,
talk about that one real
with with the silent E. All right, so this is a vampire as well. It's 2 colors, blue, black, red. It is a 4/4 vampire wizard. Whenever you or a permanent you control becomes the target of spell or ability an opponent controls, counter that spell or ability unless they pay 4 life.
So
a little bit of like the
kind of ward.
Yeah, kind of ward 4 life. They'll beat the what was the cards? The old Judgment cards that gave you the Punisher cards. Browbeat.
Browbeat.
Yeah, those kinds of things where you had the option. Whenever you copy a spell, up to one target opponent may also copy the spell, and they choose new targets for that copy.
Yeah,
so political.
Yeah,
I like it
because you give them the copy, and then if they choose you, they have to pay the 4 life to be able to either hit you or the permanent you control.
Exactly.
So if you have something that's really problematic, they want to get rid of, they got to pay for it.
Yeah.
So that's those 2 main ones. There's also a 2-mana legendary creature, which I know a lot of people have been very excited for, and that is Cyrix, Carrier of the Flame. This is a legendary Phoenix finally coming out, and it's a black red for 2 black red, 3/3 flying haste. At the beginning of each end step, if a creature card left your graveyard this turn, target Phoenix you control deals damage equal to its power to any target. And whenever another Phoenix you control dies, you may cast Cyrix, Carrier of the Flame from your graveyard.
It's a sweet card.
Basic Phoenix stuff, we're getting stuff back from the graveyard. And whenever they come back, they deal damage, so.
I like it. Did they have a legendary Phoenix before?
I don't.
Were the Phoenix players out there?
I don't think they did.
I don't know.
I know this is like a really big one because it's 2 colors, so maybe if there was one, it was only like mono red or something.
Maybe.
I don't believe there was.
I don't know. Yeah. I'm not a Phoenix player.
Neither am I. Maybe one or 2 of them, but that's about it. But yeah, there's some other cool cards in here. I know one that we talked about in the game was Make an Example.
That card's really sweet. That is a very, very much a fixed version of Do or Die.
You want to talk about that one a little bit?
Yeah, so I believe you affectionately called this Sack or Fiction.
Sack or Fiction,
Sorcery, 3 colors and a black. Make an Example says each opponent separates the creatures they control into 2 piles. For each opponent, you choose one of their piles, and the opponent sacrifices that pile. Doesn't sound too powerful, but when you get to copy it, that's when it gets really good.
It's so obnoxious.
That's when it's obnoxious.
It's so obnoxious when there's 2 of them.
Yeah, it's very powerful card. Obviously, like Damnation and things of that nature are nice and clean for a reason. But this card This card is good.
It makes the turn go a little bit longer, but it really makes all of your opponents have to think about it.
Yeah, you want to make an example of them.
Yeah.
Exactly. Big fan of this card.
That's a good one. There's 2 enchantments that I think work really well together in this deck, but one of them is a little odd in that I think it only really works with the other one. So the first one is Extravagant Replication. It's 4 blue enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, create a token that's a copy of another target non-land permanent you control, which is just sweet. It's 6 mana, so it's a little much for and you have to wait until your upkeep. So it's a little much for an effect that you don't get until the next turn. But
like getting 2 Cryptic Pursuits or something along that line.
Yeah, getting a couple of Cryptic Pursuits or another permanent is super sweet. The other one is Determined Iteration, and that's 1 in a red. At the beginning of combat on your turn, populate. The token created this way gains haste. Sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. So you get to populate whatever you make with the Extravagant Replication. But I don't know how much more you're doing as far as like you've got your zombie tokens with like Army of the Damned and stuff in this deck, but yeah, I think this is a really good combination of those two.
It is. And I guess we should I don't want to, but I guess we should call out the Confluence.
Yeah.
Since this card exists. Maestros Confluence. This card is annoying to say the least, but 3 colors.
You hate Go.
Blue, black, red. Choose 3. You may choose the same mode more than once. And the modes are return target monocolored instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand. Pretty good. Target creature gets -3 until end of turn, and then goad each creature target player controls.
And you've hated goad since we actually debuted the goad mechanic. Do you remember that?
I hate
we did that on the Leonin creature from the Precon, and you were just like, I don't like this. I don't like it at all. It's gonna be annoying.
Still haven't come around.
Keeps coming back, and it's still annoying.
It is a powerful effect. I'll admit that. I have used it, for good.
Yeah.
But
The last one I kind of want to point out is Sinister Concierge. I think this one's pretty neat.
That's a good one.
It's a 2/1 human wizard for 1 and a blue, and it's when it dies, you may exile it and put 3 time counters on it. If you do, exile up to 1 target creature and put 3 time counters on it. Each card exiled this way that doesn't have suspend gains suspend. So you get rid of something that one of your opponents has that's really annoying. It comes back a few turns later, and you get this. And you can always just sacrifice it to your commander with the casualty abilities.
So you will.
Yeah, so some good cards there. So let's start going over some cards that we would add to this deck. I think the biggest one that's like really pretty obviously if you've been playing Commander for a while, if this isn't your first like Spellslinger deck or even your first Precon that has blue in it, is Talrand's Sky Summoner. Like, I was pretty surprised this wasn't in the deck because they love putting this card in the Precon.
Yeah, we were just talking about that before, and I feel they put Talrand's Invocation.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if they were worried that maybe in the Precon level, having this creature just constantly generate the 2/2s might not be for the best.
Yeah.
You have the Cryptic Pursuit card we talked about, which gives you one whenever you do it anyways. But maybe having too many of those effects in the pre-constructed version might be.
Yeah.
But in the upgraded version, for sure, without a doubt, you put a Talrand in here.
It'll be you'll either get like a swarm of drakes, or you're going to be able to get a bunch of fodder for your casualty.
Mm-hmm.
So that's number one. I think it's seen a bunch of play in a bunch of other Precon decks. Might as well put it here.
So the next card we have is a little pricey.
Yeah.
If you weren't familiar with it, but it is Poppet Stitcher from, I believe this was Midnight Hunt, right? Yes,
yeah,
Midnight Hunt. 2/3 for 3, human wizard. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, create a 2/2 black zombie creature with Decayed. So another kind of Talrand effect.
Mm-hmm.
And at the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 3 or more creature tokens, you may transform Poppet Stitcher, and it turns into the Puppet Factory. Mm-hmm. That card's obnoxious. Creature tokens you control lose all abilities and have base power and toughness 3/3, and it becomes an artifact. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may transform Puppet Factory.
Yeah.
Which you won't.
No.
Unless you run out of tokens for whatever reason. It just makes your creatures massive.
Yeah, like it gets rid of the Decayed on your zombies that have Decayed. It does get rid of the flying on your drakes, but
Sure.
I mean, there's a bunch of like
It's a trade-off.
Yeah, there's Army of the Damned in this deck. I know there was what was the other one? There was one of the spells that actually gives you a bunch. So
There's probably some more casualty cards in the deck that have
Yeah.
casualty 3 or more as well.
exactly.
So
There's a bunch in here that you really want to get. Be able to get those 3/3s, like upgrade them from a 2/2 to a 3/3. So I think that one's pretty good. But again, it's kind of a similar to Talrian, so if you happen to have the budget for it, it's a good option, but it is a little pricey because it is
pricey.
Mythic
It is
from Midnight Hunt, which has some. So the next one that we're going to talk about is Lear, Disciple of the Drowned. Again, another one from Midnight Hunt, another Mythic. So, but it's a 3/4 for 3 blue legendary creature, human wizard, and it says spells can't be countered. A+ already.
Yep.
Cool. But it also says each instant and sorcery card in your graveyard has flashback. The flashback cost is equal to that card's mana cost.
Yeah.
So you just get another version of all your cards that are in your graveyard. I think this is just a fantastic card in this deck.
Yeah, I mean, this card costs 1 more mana than Past in Flames.
Mm-hmm.
Spells can't be countered. It's also a 3/4 body.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the difference between red and blue, if you didn't know. Just throwing that out there. That's the upgrade you get when you move from red to blue. You become a 3/4 legendary creature, and your spells can't be countered. That's just real. So, all right. The next creature card we have is what is this guy? Thryx?
Thrix, the Sudden
Thrix, the Sudden Storm.
Yeah, it's from
Theros
Beyond.
Yeah, I remember that set. So 5 mana, 4/5 flash, flying. Spells you cast with converted mana cost 5 or greater, cost 1 or less, and cannot be countered.
Yep. So another can't be countered as long as you're playing big spells.
Yep.
You know,
You're playing spells, right? You want to make them cost a little less, and this is a giant guy.
Yeah. If you're playing the big spells, like there's definitely ways you can go with this where you play more of a low mana value, like Spellslinger. You're trying to cast a bunch in one, but honestly, you're gonna have more fun playing your 6, 7, 8 mana spell. Throwing that out there, this is gonna reduce it, gonna make it uncounterable.
I want my Army of the Damned getting a little cheaper. I want my those big spells.
This is also spells you cast, not just instants and sorcery. So if you happen to get one of your big creatures or your big enchantments or something like that, it's also going to be great for that sort of thing. So, but yeah, that's Thrax. The next one is Varan, Voice of Duality, which is from Commander 2021, and this one's pretty sweet. 2/2 for 1 blue and red legendary creature, Ifrit Wizard. It's got Magecraft. Whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, it gets +1/+1 until end of turn. And if you casting or copying an instant or sorcery spell causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. So there's like a lot of little things that you can put in here. I think another one that we looked at was the next card in the list was Archmage Emeritus, where whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, draw a card. For a creature that's a 2/2 human wizard for 2 blue. Same thing. So these kind of go together in that whenever you cast or copy, you get that extra draw and you get to trigger it a second time.
Gotcha.
So
yeah, I don't know how it interacts with Analo, but I'm sure it breaks Magic the Gathering Online. So that's got to be good. Big fan of that.
Yeah.
Well, all right, so let's go to the next one. You mentioned Archmage Emeritus, so we'll quickly go over that. Just a 4 mana 2/2. Magecraft lets you draw the card, right? Yep. Whenever you play a copy.
Cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell. Yep. So pretty simple.
Yep. Next card, love this card from Strixhaven. This is Stormciln Artist.
Stormciln Artist.
Kiln Artist. Yep. 4 mana 2/2. It gets +1/+0 for each artifact you control, and it has the Magecraft ability of creating a treasure token whenever you copy something.
That's going to be pretty important for being able to get to those bigger spells. Like treasures are becoming a little bit more evergreen and
a lot more evergreen.
Like a lot more green too. I know a lot of people were a little upset that there's a lot more green cards that are making treasure tokens in the main set for Streets of New Capenna. But honestly, treasures are just becoming a thing. They're going to be evergreen pretty much. So
they fetch.
Yeah. Getting more treasure tokens so you can actually cast the big spells in this deck is going to be a pretty big key on a 4 mana 2/2. It's going to get there. So, let's see. Speaking of treasure tokens, there's a couple different options. There's the Unexpected Windfall is the one from AFR, but I think Big Score is probably the better one. That actually comes in Streets of New Capenna, and it's an instant for 3 and a red. Unexpected Windfall is 2 red, and they do the same thing.
Yeah, so this is just a pure upgrade as far as
they do.
It's a secondary one.
It's a second one if you really need it, but it's as an additional cost to cast it. Discard a card, and then you draw 2 cards and create 2 treasure tokens.
Yep.
Very simple. It's a good card.
Just straightforward.
Yeah.
Definitely going to see more play in red-based decks than blue decks, but it's definitely still good here.
Yeah.
Let's see. So we also have some removal of some of our choices here. We have a Baleful Mastery, right? I like this card. I like being able to pay 2 mana and play a little politically. Who wants to get the card? Because this is a 4-mana removal spell, but you can pay 2 and have your opponent draw a card instead.
Yep, an opponent,
An opponent. And it exiles target creature or planeswalker.
And if you get to casualty that,
yeah, you don't have to worry about it.
You don't have to worry about the copy
awesome.
with getting to draw a card.
Yeah,
So
the second part you just get.
So it's nice. You get 2 instances of it for one person drawing a card for 2 mana.
Seems good.
And sacking one creature. So pretty good. Prismari Command is our next one, which it can deal some damage. So that's if you decide to copy it, it's 1 blue-red instant. It choose 2, deals 2 damage to any target, or target player draws 2 cards and discards 2 cards, or target player creates a treasure token, or destroy target artifact. So again, kind of ramping you with those treasure tokens a little bit, or getting them for banking for later, dealing 2 damage a couple of times, things like that. So,
yeah. Speaking of treasure tokens, I'm going to jump down to this because I love this card too much, and that is one of the big Spellslinger cards if you can get to it, and that's Brass's Bounty. 7 mana for each land you control, make a treasure token. Getting to casualty that, here's the thing: we can obviously go through all of the expensive cards and talk about those going into decks like Dockside Extortionist and Wheel of Fortune and things like that. But these are the cards that I really like to play in Commander, right?
These are fun.
I love getting the cards like Brass's Bounty and just making a massive amount of treasure tokens.
yeah, getting 2x the number of lands.
2. I get to copy it. It's going to be uncounterable because of my Leer. I'm in. I love Brass.
Speaking, I'm going to hop up just one more here, and this is the other one that I really like that you can use those treasures on, because this is an 8-mana sorcery. It's 6 black and red, and I really like this. John laughs at me because obviously this is my kind of thing. It's basically an Atali that never misses, and it has rebound. So it says each opponent exiles cards from the top of their library until they exile a non-land card. You may cast any number of spells from among those non-land cards without paying their mana costs, and it has a rebound. It's obnoxious.
Yeah, it's a Grixis Villainous Wealth card. I got you. I see it.
It is.
It's a Tali. I get that. That's a little bit.
It's a Villainous Wealth.
But it's
for what
just
you want.
Villainous Wealth.
Yeah.
You're just stealing our cards. I hate it. All right, what else do we have here? Another good draw spell, which I think we got hated on when I talked about this card one time when I said that I think more blue decks should be playing it. People aren't big fans of it. That's Manifold Insights.
Yeah.
You get to see 10 cards. And the 3 opponents will then choose one of those non-land cards and put it into your hand. That's 3 mana, 3 cards is a lot. You don't get that very often.
3 mana sack a 2 something.
Getting
get
6
cards.
Man, that's a lot.
Even if they're the worst cards,
doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Just give me the fuel.
It's also non-land cards. That's like
I'm not getting land.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get gas in some form.
Yeah, it's good.
I think being able to copy that card in this deck kind of pushes it to another level.
Exactly. I really like this card.
I agree.
It should be played more often. Another one that is going to help you draw into some cards is Painful Truths, and that's the 2 and a black sorcery converge. You draw X cards and you lose X life, where X is the number of colors of mana spent to cast the spell.
Don't copy it.
Don't copy it.
Don't copy it. Just get some nice, quick divination mana going.
Yep.
Get you 3 cards. It's fine. It does what it does, and it does it's good. Just don't copy it. Don't get caught.
This is one of those that's good to cast on its own. You don't have to sacrifice.
Yeah. And then I guess one of the last cards we have, one of my favorite cards in Commander that people absolutely hate to play against, and when you copy it, boy, they're going to really hate it. That's Siphon Mind. 3 colors and a black sorcery. Each other player discards a card, and then you get to draw a card.
For each card.
Each card. So if I get to copy this, you all go down 2, and I draw 6. I like that. That's like a Wheel of Fortune.
This is going to be your... You're going to want this over Painful Truth if you're aiming to copy.
Yes.
Painful Truth is good for drawing those 3 cards.
It's just a solid...
To pay 3 mana, draw 3 cards in your 3-color deck. But Siphon Mind is going to be the one that's going to really get you there. And also, maybe paint a target on you a little bit.
Probably.
All right, so we have 2 more creatures to go over. One is... another card that's, I think this one's a little expensive, like monetarily, and that's Relentless Dead.
It's probably not cheap.
Yeah,
Mythic Zombies, Shadow of the Innistrad, probably isn't cheap.
Yeah. So this is another one that you can sacrifice. There's a few in the deck that you can sacrifice and that'll come back later. So there's like Blood-Soaked Champion and, there's Squee. Honestly, you probably want to get rid of Squee from the deck.
I think Relentless Dead is probably just better. When you play it and then it dies, you pay a black and you get it back. Mm-hmm. And it's just Menace. It seems fine. I think it's a good card to recur back and forth with your casualty.
There's a couple of them. What's the name of the... I cannot remember there's another one, the 3/1 Shade, that can come back whenever you landfall is in the deck as well.
Okay.
So there's things like that are good for recurring back to play so that you can sack them again. Relentless Dead is going to be another good one of that ilk. And then the last one is, if you're going for the Phoenix Tribal, this one's going to be really good. And that's the Evercool Phoenix, and this is in the Ikoria set, and that is a mutate one. It's 3 and a red to mutate. Otherwise, it's 2 red for a 4/4 Phoenix flying. Whenever this creature mutates, create a red artifact token named Feather with 1. Just pay 1, sacrifice Feather, return target Phoenix card from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. I think that's going to be a pretty obvious one to put in any Phoenix deck, but
Yeah, I agree. I think these decks, are pretty focused, but they give you like little glimpses of other decks that could be there. Like getting that legendary Phoenix. It's like, okay, so we could just do something completely different.
yeah, like the older precons, we've talked about this before. The older precons always had like 3 different commanders that you could go with, and they all kind of had different themes, and so the deck itself was kind of fighting a little bit on within itself of like which theme wanted to be like the dominant one. And these are a lot more streamlined, but now have those cues, those hints to the other 2 legendary creatures that come in the deck. So, so yeah, that is the Maestros Massacre deck from Streets of New Capenna. Do you have anything else to add for this one?
I don't. I think this is a pretty good deck. I was taking a look through it. I don't think the reprint value is as high as Esper, but it's still pretty good. They did a really good job on land reprints in these. You're getting the filter lands. You're getting Cascade Bluffs again.
Yeah.
You get the typical cards you would normally expect to see, like your Exotic Orchard that like basically every deck wants to have.
Path of Ancestry.
Pretty
That's common now. We talked about it in another one of the decks, and probably all of them is going to be the Thriving Lands from Battle Bond. Was it Battle Bond or Jumpstart?
Jumpstart.
That's what those were for.
Yeah, but you're getting Lightning Greaves in this deck. You're getting a Kess. There's some pretty solid cards in this deck. I love Frantic Search. Yeah, I like this deck a lot. There's a lot of really sweet reprints. They're acknowledging the fact that you're supposed to be playing these cantrips like Ponder and Preordain finally.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, for Jonathan Suarez, I'm Jeremy Knoll, and we will see you next time.